was supposed to get some.
Oh,
See, that's the problem because the
the whole thing is on.
Yeah.
Funny how he posted it. I have no idea.
No, I look good. the Three Musketeers.
I'm good. You're good? Yep.
Terry, you good? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Public Property and Parks Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Counsel Starbin?
Present.
Present Counsel LaPierre?
Present.
Present Counsel Calucci?
Present.
Present Counsel Chakutis?
Present.
Present Counsel Field?
Present.
Present.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the easement at Four Winds. Attorney Lamanna?
As you may remember, this was tabled, I believe, 2 meetings back for the opportunity for the Public Property Committee to see some plans. This involves, my understanding, is the takedown, complete takedown or a partial takedown of the back deck, which is located partially on some city property going back to probably almost 20 years now. And some new plans are being presented by my brother, Attorney Steve Kiley, tonight. Just by a little bit of background, there is a court order and a court agreement that the back deck must be sprinklerized, and this, as they're doing the sprinklers to comply with the court order, this build out or tear down and reconstruction is being done in order to comply with that court order. So,
Is somebody from the Four Winds? Representative? State your name and address, please.
I'm Attorney Steve Kiley. My office is at 4 Lakeview Ave in Lynn. I've represented the Four Winds for many, many years. We've gone back and forth over the last several years about an addition, a renovation to the building, and COVID threw a monkey wrench in those plans for obvious reasons. Basically, the plan is to enclose the deck, that if any of you have been there, they want to enclose the deck and make it a year-round proposition. There will be a little expansion of the premises. They're going to build a vestibule, and they're going to build a room for the sprinkler system. Mechanical hardware, and that will take up a little more of the lot than the lot is presently taken up with by the building right now, but it's not much. And it's that front area as you walk into the front of the Four Winds, you see that there's an area for some outside dining, and so this will basically move a little of that forward closer to Broadway. There's no parking in there anyway. The only person who parks there is the owner of the business. So I think it'll be a minimal disruption or expansion of the footprint of the building. The covering of the deck is going to be exactly as it is right now. It's not going to expand the size of the deck and so forth. The capacity will be 120, 30 outside, 90 inside. Actually, right now it's licensed for 99 inside. They're going to remove the inside bar that was on the deck and just make that into a dining area. Back in 2008, the city granted an easement. As the property was about to be sold to my client, the prior owner became aware that there was an encroachment on a city property, namely part of the pond, or the banks of the pond, and so the city granted an easement of 437 square feet to the prior owner to correct that problem and to cure the defect in title. My client doesn't want to expand the size of the easement. He simply wants to be able to build upon it so that the roof of the enclosed deck will be over the 437 square foot easement. So that's the easement that was granted in 2008 said that there was to be no building on the easement area, so that's a change that we're looking for. The easement in 2008 also said that there was to be no demolition of the existing building or construction of any new buildings on the entire parcel of some 5,000 plus square feet. So the modification of easement agreement that I've prepared and shared with Attorney Lamanna simply allows the petitioner to build on the 437 square foot easement area. It doesn't increase the size of the easement area. It simply allows him to build on it and to build a roof on the deck. The plans call for the roof of the structure the roof of the existing structure will be raised about 3 feet so that the roof line matches the roof line that's going to be over the enclosed deck for aesthetic purposes. But there's no second floor or anything of that nature. Simply the roof will be made a little bit higher. I have a detailed set of plans which were given to the Board of Appeals, and the Board of Appeals approved the petition unanimously with some conditions, namely that it be subject to approval by the council and also approval by the Conservation Commission. So I'm happy to share the plans with you if any of you want to look at them, but I think what I've said fairly accurately summarizes what it is that we're looking to do.
So as far as the easement lines and boundaries, nothing changes from what's...
Nothing changes on that. The prior owner of the property did in fact pay $4,000 to the city to grant that easement back in 2008. But no, nothing changes except the right of the present owner to build upon that 437 square foot area and to actually have a roof up above it and overhang.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Kylie. Any questions? Councilor Field.
Thank you, Chair. Attorney Kylie, some of the concerns from the neighbors involve sound. I think since the last construction with the area that we're discussing, it almost created like an amplifier, like a hat shell, really, across neighbors that once had a quiet area along the pond. Are there any specific improvements being made to kind of deal with the sound during the construction in those plans, or?
Well, the plans are to enclose the deck and to have all-weather windows facing the pond. So number one, and number two, the plans also include removal of the bar that is presently located on the deck. It's a small bar. I think it only seats 8 or 10 people. So I think just by the very nature of the project that's going to take place, there's going to be quite a bit of sound mitigation. We agreed at Councilor Lozzi's request to guarantee that the windows would be shut at 10 o'clock at night, Sunday through Thursday, and at midnight on Friday and Saturday. So I think that there's some built-in safeguards just by the very nature of what's going on. We did go to the Board of Appeals. One person did object. The person who objected lives across the way, I think, on Wendy Way, and he did point out that it hasn't been a problem for the last 2 years, but prior to that it was a problem. Well, I think unfortunately with COVID's changed the way that a lot of places do business, and I don't think in recent years there's been an issue at all there, quite frankly. But with the new construction and the elimination of the bar that's on the deck, I just don't think that it's going to be an issue. I'm sure that...
But nothing specific as far as like material to help with the sound?
Well, I'm sure that the windows, as you probably can imagine, are very expensive pieces of equipment. I can't stand here and tell you that, there's so many panes thick or have so much insulation capabilities, but I know that that's something that he's looking to do. Patrick DeBova, the owner of the business, has really been quite proactive on these issues. He's gone to neighbors who live across the pond and, asked them if there are any problems and so on and so forth. So there really haven't been any in a couple of years. I just think the very nature of the construction and the nature of the project itself is going to remedy some of the issues that may have arisen in years past.
Okay. And you referenced Councilor Lozzi. Is there any intent of support from him that we're known?
He hasn't given any indication of either.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And Attorney Kylie, you said that Councilor Lozzi is on board?
Yes, we met with Councilor Lozzi actually at at the Four Winds, and we went over the plans with him, and he had no problem with the plans. His only request was that we shut the window. Obviously, the windows that are on the enclosed deck are going to be able to be open in good weather, and his only request was that we agreed to shut those at 10 o'clock on Sunday through Thursday, as I said, and at midnight on Friday and Saturday, and my client, of course, agreed to do that.
And I would imagine that when those windows are closed, it's quite an improvement over the roll-up vinyls that are currently there.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Counsel Lapierre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Kiley, I know, so the project itself, you had mentioned, I think, it's gone through ZBA and Conservation, and there was a condition that had it before us, because we usually don't deal with this, as I recall. Maybe Attorney Lamonica can correct me if I'm wrong, but easements of this nature, so I've got a couple calls from the neighborhood around the pond disruption. Do you know anything about what it will do to the ecosystem or the pond itself when they're going to be using this 437 square foot area? Is there disruption to the pond? Are there footings being laid? Any construction for the roof that is going to be done on the easement itself?
No, I believe that my client went to the Conservation Commission several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, with a very similar set of plans, and the Conservation Commission issued a determination of non-applicability of the Wetlands Protection Act, and I believe that still holds. I have a call into Jamie Cerulli today about that, but there's going to be no construction activity beyond the existing deck and perimeter of the building. So in other words, there's not going to be any equipment down on the pond. There's not going to be any pilings driven in. The deck is concrete based, and that's going to be the base of the addition. So there's going to be no work done there. The wall, of course, will be made more permanent, and the roof will be put on. But my understanding is that there's going to be no activity that is on the pond or on city-owned property other than the 437 square foot easement area.
And I would just echo my Councilor Fields, my colleagues' comments about when we get the calls, it's more around noise and evening noise of bands or singing. And I think originally it was for these soundproof windows to be installed. I don't know how costly they are, probably very costly. But instead, there's like plastic flappers that are, along that newer, probably 10 years old now, the deck itself. So do you think, Patrick, or yourself, do you know if the plan is to sort of soundproof that area as it goes out to the pond under this new construction?
With the new construction, there's going to be a wall of windows, if you will. I understand that there's some plastic barriers up there now, but that's used.
That coming down?
Yeah, that's coming down, and the railing along the outside of the deck closest to the pond is coming down, and the canvas roof is coming down. So it's going to be a totally enclosed structure. So I don't think that you're not going to have an issue of permanent plastic flaps as being the only sound barrier. There's going to be all-weather windows placed along the entirety of that side of the structure.
I mean, I think if I could have Attorney Lamonica come up just to address my concern around I'm not opposed to the project. I think I'm opposed to actually it coming before us as an easement. Can you enlighten us as to the conditions or the stipulations put on by the ZBA? Why couldn't they just approve this? Why did it have to be reverted back to the council for final approval?
So as Attorney Kiley indicated, back in 2000, this is city land, so as the city council is in charge of all public property. So anything that's built or put on public property, whether it's a back deck at Rowley's in an ultimate sale, but last summer there was permission for that back deck. Any object that's put on public property, you have something coming up right after this on the agenda about some filming, staging at a new property that we just purchased through eminent domain. The council has to give permission for that to happen. So in 2008, they authorized the mayor to sign an easement, drafted up by the law department, to give the prior owner of the Four Winds the right to utilize, quote-unquote, City of Lynn land. That easement itself stated that if the deck was ever taken down, the easement would be extinguished. So that easement goes away as an operation of the document itself, as an operation of law, the moment the building comes down. So in order to go forward and utilize that same 471 square feet, it needs to come back to the council to reauthorize that. Attorney Kiley had mentioned that there was a payment by the prior owner of $4,000. Chris Gator, it's the chief assessor, has given a 2022 value of that at $6,600. I know the property owner of the Four Winds would make the argument that there should be some credit for the prior payment, that would, albeit made by a prior owner, but that's ultimately up to the council. But this is giving up a property interest in land of 471 feet, so there should be some consideration of the money. But I hope that explains that easement, that vote from 2008 essentially dies the moment they remove the structure per the document.
Okay, thank you, that's very clear. Thank you, Jim. All set, thank you.
Any other questions? What is the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion been made, seconded, as is.
How about what was the difference in the price?
With the stipulations from Council Lozey.
2,500,
Were there stipulations, Councilor Lozey?
the closing of the times.
I think the,
Stipulation of the zoning board of appeals was the windows would be closed at 10 o'clock Sunday through Thursday. Windows would be closed at midnight Friday and Saturday was the only stipulation.
So there were no financial stipulations?
Financial stipulation would be up to this board, whether the 6,600 that the assessor puts on it, or whether the credit for the prior payment. Brother certainly can advocate for his, but that's entirely up to this board. But we are giving up a property interest, and some payment should be forthcoming.
How much? I would say make.
Motion made and seconded.
Wait, we gotta get some money.
So.
What do you think you'll get paid for this, Mr. Riley?
I believe the assessor has placed the value of is it $6,600, Attorney LaManna? Yes. For the value of the easement. $4,000 was paid in 2008, so I mean, it seems to make sense to me that the difference of $2,600 is what the present owner should pay. Otherwise, he's the city, not, it's a bad idea for the city, but the city would be collecting twice for the same thing, and I don't think that's appropriate.
How about 3,000? Can you beat him into 3,000?
I'm sure I can get him to whatever I have to get him to, you know.
Okay, how about 3,000?
Okay, so you would like to offer a friendly amendment to add $3,000? Is
Yes, sir.
there a second?
second?
Motion been made, second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
No.
No. Counselor Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Attorney Kiley. Thank you very much. Next item is the use of parking lot at 2 State Street for filming on May 13th from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Attorney LaManna, do you have anything to add to this?
The mayor's office was approached approximately a couple of weeks ago. There's going to be a filming of a movie about some plots involving tennis players. I don't know much more of the details. They have reached out to some restaurants in the area, Rossetti's, Chow. There's going to be some filming this Friday night along Market Street, and I believe going up Liberty. They're looking to have some staging while the filming's ongoing at the State Street lot. They have spoken with the Children's Law Foundation. And I've spoken with their attorney. They have no issues with the timing. It will happen after work hours, and again, it'll be a 12-hour period, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So it would be permission, now that we own 2 State Street, the Public Property Committee has jurisdiction on whether to permit this. And I believe they're donating $1,000 to the general fund for the use of the 12-hour period.
Okay, thank you, Attorney LaManna. Questions? Councilor Field.
Make a motion to approve as long as they're bonded for insurance purposes on city property.
Second.
Motion been made, seconded. Any further discussion? I would imagine that they're insured.
Correct, and the city of Lynn's names an additional insured as well, yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Okay, any other business?
I have some new business.
Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to approve the Lynn Community Connections use of the front foyer for public health fair on Friday, June 10th, from 9 to noon. And I believe Ms. Cuevas is here to explain. Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Cuevas.
Hi everyone. I'm here on behalf of Brandy Rodriguez, who's the director of Lynn Community Connections Coalition. They're hosting a social justice week, and they want to use this will be the culmination of the week, and it will be hosted in the foyer. They'll have a lot of organizations that help underrepresented community members, and they're going to invite the community to come meet with the organizations, find out what resources are available to them. So we wanted to come before all of you and see if we can use that space to culminate the week and sort of honor the week of events that will be happening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cuevas? Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other business?
Adjourn?
Second.
Been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, we have all renewals for auto repair and flammable licenses.
We can take those as a whole. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
So moved. What is the wish of the committee? We have a
Motion to
motion to
approve.
approve. We have a motion to approve
Second.
by Counselor LaPierre, seconded by Counselor Allenson. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Those licenses for renewal carry. Is there any other business, Madam Clerk?
No other business.
What is the wish of our committee?
Motion adjourned?
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
We should have like intermission number. Like intermission. It's not updated.
Had a good time in Washington.
Oh my God. Yeah, when somebody says.
Rosie's here.
That's good, you have a quorum.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Today, May 10th, 2022, I would like to call the Utilities Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Counsel Alanzug?
Present?
Present Counsel Lozey?
Present.
Present Counsel Chakutis? Absent Counsel Calucci? Absent Counsel Staben?
Present.
Present.
Thank you. We only have one item tonight on the agenda. Madam Clerk, please read them first before we will call our representative.
We have a petition of Methuen Construction as part of the Phase 3 Westland Sewer Separation Project, Commercial Street and Bennett Street. The project overview is a construction of below-grade 96 MGD pump station with 5 stormwater pumps, 1 dewatering pump. Pumping station will also include inlet screening chamber, wet well, and discharge valve vault. Construct 1,856 square foot masonry electrical building with a switchboard, 5 reduced voltage motor starters for main pumps, and 1 of the dewatering pumps. Transformers, automatic transfer switch, 750 kilowatts of natural gas, generator, 2 bathrooms, and an HVAC equipment. Construction of 1,000 linear feet of 54-inch diameter HDPE pipe cased in a 66-inch diameter steel casing by micro tunneling. Removal and legal disposal of 5 suspected underground fuel oil storage tanks. Excavation of 3 metallic anomalies along the south project boundary. Removal and disposal of top 8 feet of soil from the site. Relocation of utilities in commercial and Bennett streets. Cap existing utilities in the area of the pumping station and the electrical building. And remove and legally dispose of the existing piping between capped sections.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just wanted to read that for everybody who's watching now. Public hearing, is there anybody here wish to speak in favor? Any representative, please, please approach the podium, sir. Thank you. So since the clerk already explained and read the whole thing, can you just give us a very brief background and bird's eye view about this project?
So this project is going to help with the drainage in the local area, as well as the whole city of Lynn. It will pump the stormwater to the discharge point, which will be the ocean. It's a stormwater separation, separating the sewer from the stormwater.
All right. Thank you. You can take your seat, sir. If there's questions from the councilors after the public hearing, I will call you. Thank you. Let's continue the public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak in favor? In favor? Seeing none. Anybody here would like to speak in opposition? 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 Sir, can you come back again? We have some few questions and clarification. Thank you. Councilors, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Councilor Lozey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, with the separation process, this particular work, do you know what kind of an improvement in the drainage that will occur as a result of this post-construction, say 50% improvement on the storm flooding or whatever?
I really can't answer that. I'm the contractor. We do have a representative here of Stantec with the design, if you want to hear from him.
Yes, would you like approach, please? Thank you. Thank you. Just mention your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Bartley, business or home address? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
45 Network Drive, Burlington.
We can still track you. Thank you. Go ahead.
So this is a third phase of a multiple phase of sewer storm separation in the Westland area. I don't know an exact percentage of the reduction of flooding, but there is been several other projects that have been separating the pipe storm drains and the sewers themselves, and there's some more linear work also following to continue separating sewer and the storm. Another benefit we get out of that is in storm events, we're not reducing the likelihood of sending sewage out into the bay itself.
So the answer is no, but there will be improvements.
There will be an improvement.
Thank you.
Thank you. While you're here, maybe you can answer some of the clarification questions here about the, it says relocation of utilities in Commercial and Bennett Street. Has the utilities companies have been approached and informed? And what are their timetables?
I would have to go back to a contractor on that. We show the work and then.
Just don't go far.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
So, excuse me, the relocation of utilities in Commercial Street in Bennett will take place during the summer months this summer. We anticipate most of those being wrapped up by fall.
Good. Does that go to utilities committee meetings again? Not anymore.
No, this
No.
is just.
Okay.
yeah.
Those are just clarifications. One question, the whole timeline of the whole project, what would be the dates, if you can give us some dates or timeline?
It's a 900-year project. 900, yeah, excuse me. day
900
project.
years. So I'm still alive.
Few
by then.
lifetimes, 900 days.
900 days.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Councilor Starbird?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know who this question is for, but will this help with mitigating sewer backups into people's homes that live in that general area?
I'll defer to the design engineer.
Good thing you stayed closer.
Yes, this should help reduce sewer backups. Those can be tied to rain events when there's full capacity in the combined sewage piping. So if you separate those pipes, there's less likelihood of that backup event.
Okay. And I don't know if either of you have this answer, but does that complete the city?
That I do not know, sorry.
Okay.
I can
Because
follow.
the vast majority of the city was done years ago, and, this section of Westland was not.
I'm not familiar with that off the top of my head.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No other questions? What is the wish of the committee?
Second.
All in favor? Petition carries. What is the wish of the committee? Adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All carries. Thank you.
Please, roll call.
Counsel Net?
Present.
Present Counsel Starbird?
Present.
Present Counsel Barton? Present. Present Counsel Chakutis?
Present.
Present Counsel Walsh? Absent.
Could you please read the transfer?
$521,000 from ISD school payroll to the ISD school expense to fund projects with excess payroll due to retirements.
What's the wish committee? Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh? Absent.
Next, please.
$153,000 from ISD payroll to ISD expense and street light expense to fund additional projects needed.
What is the
Motion
wish?
approved.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh? Absent.
Next, please.
$45,000 from the Council on Aging expense to the Council on Aging payroll to fund additional staff hired.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent. $4,362 from the reserve to the council expense to fund shortfalls and expense line items for FY '22.
Motion approved.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent.
Certified funds, please.
We have $1,517,290 to the City of Lynn by the Transportation Bond Bill, Chapter 90 for FY '23.
What is the wish committee?
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I just have a
Yes.
question. Either Steve or Mike, is this Chapter 90 money in addition to what's already been budgeted for, like, street repaving and all? Okay, so this is new money to go towards new projects? Sorry. So this was anticipated?
Yes, it's an annual thing,
Okay, thank
and
you.
it fluctuates a couple $1,000.
Okay, so this probably isn't gonna turn into a bunch of new street paving projects that weren't planned previously.
All I know is I heard there's a list.
I hear that all the time. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. What's the wish committee? Yeah,
Motion
he's
approved.
second. Second. Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton? Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent. $300,000 to the City of Lynn Community Development Department by the DCR to eliminate resiliency initiatives in the City of Lynn. This is a FY '22 ARPA earmark from the delegation.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent. $3,953,728 to the School Department for the FY '22 pandemic-related disruptions in enrollment grant.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent. $50,000 to the School Department for the FY '22 CPPI planning grant.
Motion approved.
Roll call, please.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent.
Orders, please.
First order is pursuant to votes of the Lynn City Council dated July 13th, 2021 and September 28th, 2021 regarding the American Recovery Plan Act. The Lynn City Council hereby authorizes that the city may authorize the allocation of the sum of $50,000 for the American Rescue Plan Act for consulting and outreach services for the Capital Strategic Solutions, Inc.
And what's the wish committee?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh absent.
Next order, please.
Order that the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of MGL Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, establishing a portion of the lease payments for the operations of the Gannon Municipal Golf Course concession proceeds as an enterprise fund effective July 1st, 2022, or fiscal year 2023. All monies presently existing in the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Special Revenue Fund shall be transferred into the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Enterprise Fund. 65% of the revenues from the golf course concessions shall be deposited into the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Enterprise Fund on an annual basis.
What's the wish committee?
Motion to approve.
You hear second? Second. Roll call.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh, absent.
Next, please.
Be it ordered that the City Council of Lynn assembled and by the authority of the same as follows, The City of Lynn hereby accepts the provision of Chapter 32B, Section 20 of Mass General Laws as amended by Chapter 218, Section 15 of the Acts of 2016, and establishes an other post-employment benefit liability trust fund. That in accordance with the Act, the city hereby designates the treasurer-collector of the city to serve as a custodian of the OPED fund, and that the treasurer-collector be designated as a trustee of the fund, with all powers and responsibilities identified under the Act in this vote, and that the treasurer, custodian as trustee be authorized to employ investment consultants as well as outside custodial services to hold money in the fund and to pay for services from the fund. That the city hereby authorizes the investment of the fund under the prudent investor rule established under General Law, Chapter 203C, and that the city authorizes the treasurer custodian as a trustee to execute any and all documents necessary to utilize outside of custodial services and/or investment consultants, including but not limited to trust agreements, participation agreements, investments agreement, and administrative service agreements. That the city hereby designates the treasurer custodian as a plan administrator, as may be necessary to utilize outside the custodial services, and authorizes the treasurer custodian acting as a plan administrator to take other actions permitted or required by law. That the sum is expected to be appropriated in fiscal year 2023 as the initial investment into the other post-employment benefits liability, OPED, trust fund established in accordance with the General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 20.
What is the wish committee?
Motion approved.
Second.
A second? Second it. Roll call, please.
Oh, 1 second.
Yes, we'll second it. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
Hi, can I do a request that those be acted upon tonight and not July 1st? I don't know why the fiscal stability officer is only supposed to opine on things. I wanted them established before the money came in so we could put the money in there. It doesn't, now I won't be able to put money in there until July, and it defeats the purpose of establishing something in the current fiscal year, so when we present our financial statements, we'll get just as much credit for them this year instead of waiting a whole nother year. There's no rationale for him to start it in July. They were presented so they could be adopted tonight or once the mayor signs them. And there's no difference except for the reasons I said. So I wish that the council would consider adopting them tonight.
Okay, what is the wish of committee?
I
Any
make a
question?
motion that we adopt this immediately.
Okay,
Second.
second. Roll call, please. For adopt for tonight.
Adopted immediately?
Yes, immediately.
Okay. Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton? Yes. Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh? Absent.
Any okay, emergency?
Due to the fact that the timing of the fiscal year, if these all could be done as an emergency, I would truly appreciate it.
All for emergency. Okay. The wish committee of all emergency.
Motion for emergency on all of them.
Second. Roll call, please. All emergency.
Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh? Absent.
So any new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.
Counsel Alanson.
Present.
President Counsel Barton.
Present.
President Counsel Chakutis.
Present.
President Counsel Calucci. President Counsel Field.
Present?
President Counsel Hogan.
Present.
President Counsel LaPierre.
Present.
President Counsel Lozey. President Counsel Net.
Present.
President Counsel Stabbed.
Present.
President Counsel Walsh.
Present. We'll rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a motion to accept the minutes from...
Yes, sir.
We have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Communications.
We have communications from His Honor the Mayor. Dear Councilors, pursuant to Section 6-5 of the Lynn City Charter, I'm hereby reappointing Drew Russo as a Personnel Director effective May 13, 2022. Also pursuant to Section 3-9 of the Lynn City Charter, I am respectfully requesting the Council confirm Mr. Russo's reappointment at your May 10, 2022 meeting. Sincerely, Mayor Jared Nicholson.
So the wish of the
Motion to
council.
approve.
We have a motion to approve, second. Any discussion? Roll call? Roll call.
Counsel Alanson.
Drew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Barton.
Drew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Chakutis.
Drew Russo.
Drew Russo. Counsel Calucci. Russo. Counsel Field.
Drew Russo.
Drew Russo. Counsel Hogan.
Drew Russo.
Russo. Counsel LaPierre.
Andrew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Lozey.
Andrew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Net.
Drew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Stabbed.
Drew Russo.
Russo. Counsel Walsh.
Andrew Russo? All right, motion carries. Do you want to come up and say something for a second, real quick? All right.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Mayor Nicholson for the opportunity to continue to serve this city and the council for its vote of confidence in me tonight. I think we've done great things together over the last 3 years to modernize our human resources practices, but also to make this city more reflective of the community that serves here. I'm very proud of that, and I'm excited to continue that work. There are too many people to thank, but I do want to thank the hardworking staff in the Personnel Department, Maria Foglietta-Bray, Allison Hart, Abdel Kawaf. You're only as good as the people that you have around you to do the work, and I've got some of the greatest that I get to work with every day, and I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly acknowledge them and how proud I am to come to work with the great colleagues that are sitting behind me. All of us work together every day on behalf of this great city, and thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President, members of the council, Mayor Nicholson, for that opportunity to continue doing so. Thank you.
Do we have any other communications?
Yes. Dear Councilors, I am hereby reappointing Frank Valeri, 43 Monton Ave, in Saugus, to serve on the Retirement Board. His term is effective immediately and will expire on January 2nd, 2026. I am also appointing Dr. Clark Van Den Berg, 30 Great Woods Terrace, in Lynn, to serve on the Public Health Commission. His term is effective immediately and will expire on February 2nd, 2024. Sincerely, Mayor Jared C. Nicholson.
Motion to approve.
A motion, a second. Any discussion on it? Councilor Arlington?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Question about the official nomination letter submitted to us in the council about Dr. Clark Denberg. And it says Ms. Marquis' term is effective immediately. So I just want our clerk to proofread or before files, because there's apparently two people here in this letter. It's just important before we file our documents after this vote. Or any staff from the mayor's office. I just want them to clearly, thank you, Councilor Lozey.
So they'd be effective immediately?
Effective immediately. No, there's two individuals in this official letter. Dr. Clark and Ms. Marquis.
There you'll see it. It's the letter from the mayor.
I know it's a typo, but
I think
before
that's
you
a
file that,
typo.
Okay.
thank you.
So just,
So
okay.
we'll note that and make sure that that's done correctly. All right?
Yep.
Okay?
I'll
Any
get
other
a new
discussion? Do we need a roll call, or is that just going to?
Nope, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Public hearings.
First public hearing we have is an ordinance amendment regarding motor scooters and motorized bikes.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Come up to the podium. Chief, can I have the chief of police? He's here. Yep, come on up here. Yep, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Council, I'm here to speak in favor of the ordinance changes regarding scooters and motor vehicle conveyances in the city. As I've spoken before the council before, this is a public safety issue in our community as well as a quality of life issue. It's having an adverse impact on many neighborhoods and creating dangerous driving conditions at streets across the city. We have had, even as recently as last week, one young man on a dirt bike, popping wheelies, going down Boston Street, crashed and had a compound fracture of his leg, a serious injury. So the message needs to get out that this is not acceptable driving behavior, and if you're going to operate the vehicle that is not legal, or if you're going to operate it in a dangerous and reckless manner, there needs to be a consequence, and I believe that this ordinance provides the financial penalties that will serve as a deterrent to that type of behavior. In addition, we will document and investigate any incident of this nature to make sure that we are taking appropriate action to try to rein this problem conduct in.
All right.
Questions?
Great. We'll take questions after. Just hang around for a minute, Chief,
Sure.
if you could. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Come up to the podium. Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Carol Robbins. I live at 686 Boston Street. I have a picture of them when they went by my house about 2 weeks ago, and I have a video of them last year, and they were heading down, coming up Boston Street off of Summer Street, heading towards Kessler, like if they were going to the woods. All the cars, because I live on a busy street, the oldest street in Lynn, the people that are in their vehicles are very afraid. And they also drive up on the sidewalk. They almost ran me over last year when I was out front getting them on video. I did send you a picture, Rick, today, but the video was so huge.
I'm sorry I didn't get it.
Yeah, I sent it to your email here at City Hall.
Okay, thank you.
But I also looked up that in Providence, Rhode Island, and New York, what they do is when they catch these kids, they're kids and also adults, they take their vehicles and they bring them to the station and they crush them. If you look it up online, you'll see that's what they do, besides giving them a fine. And I believe there's one person that I know that's with them. He lives next door to me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Calvin Anderson, 12 Concord Street. And I'm generally in support of this. I read pretty much the whole ordinance online today, but what I was wondering about, that some of the definitions of the vehicles, I remember when this came up about 15 years ago, there was discussion of Segway types. This is, they are made to be used on sidewalks, as are some of the smaller self-propelled scooters. And to expect them to have lights and horns and be street ready is a whole different category. Some people who use these, I know one in particular down on Lynn Shore Drive and on the on the promenade, they use it because they're mobility impaired. They don't walk very well, but on the Segway, they move just as like anybody else. Of course, they're cognizant of speed limits and public safety, et cetera. So I just hope the wordage is in there that doesn't exclude necessary type of motor conveyances, including wheelchairs and the like. Now, I can attest a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a park cleanup up on Cook Street, and Councilor Starbird organized it. But I was out on the street, and a group came down on the in-between mini bikes. None of them had plates. I guess they all had helmets. They looked like they could be street legal, but they weren't. But their conduct was racing up and down the street, zigzagging back and forth. I actually hid behind a thing because they saw me taking a picture with my camera. So I hid down and I called the police, and I just said, you know, your chief just said for us to call you at a public hearing a couple of weeks ago, and I think they were about to send somebody, but then 10 minutes later, the high-speed chase went by me. So I don't know if they were ever going to come or not, but that was trumped by the high-speed chase. But I just hope that we're not going to be excluding people who have mobility issues that have conveyances that somehow fall into this category. And now it's complicated because every year there's more conveyances. I'm even talking about hoverboards and the like. People do sometimes use them for convenience in travel.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody in opposition? Anyone like to speak in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing done, that part of the hearing is closed. It's the wish of the council. Councilor Barton.
Mr. President, I'd like to put an amendment on that, and I ask the clerk to read the amendment, please.
Amendment is for Section 11A, hereby amended to add the following sentence. Such seizure and removal authority shall include towing and impounding and motorized conveyance under procedures promulgated by the Lynn Police Department. Section 11B is hereby amended to add the following sentences. Owner-operator shall be prohibited to retrieve the vehicle until the citation is paid. If no citation was issued at the time the vehicle was towed because the operator abandoned it and fled, then the tow company will be required to hold and refer the owner to the Lynn Police to confirm ownership prior to the release of said motorized conveyance. Any vehicle not retrieved by the owner-operator within 60 days may be disposed of by the tow operator as permitted by law.
Councilor Barton, is that a motion to accept and then an amendment? Okay. We got a second. Any discussion? Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Freddy, I have a quick question.
Chief, you come back up to the podium for us, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. I know we talked about at several meetings ahead of tonight's meeting about ways the public can participate safely. And I know a lot of this has to deal with fines and impounding and whatnot and citations, but if someone is trying to help and they're taking a photo or they're taking a video, if these people that are breaking the law, would witness intimidation fall under a criminal activity if they're spat at or charged at by any of these operators while they're trying to, assist?
So intimidation of a witness would be something we would consider. It would depend on the specific circumstances of what the interaction was. It could be witness intimidation. There may be lesser charges, but certainly we would want to be made aware of that, and we would respond and take appropriate action. I would also encourage people, Counselor, that there are ways to report information to us without making yourself known to the riders or others. You can call us, and if you don't want to give your name, we're still going to take your information and respond appropriately. And we have a variety of other, whether it be text or tip or through our social media accounts and other sources that you can find on our website, and we'll be happy to promote those resources to the community as well.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilor Staben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to thank Chief Reddy and his whole department in putting this together. I know for the better part of 2 years, we've been going back and forth, even back with Chief McGarry, former Chief McGarry had put together a plan, and just anything we can do to toughen this up and stop this practice, because it's just, it's absolutely horrendous. And, I keep putting it in my newsletters month after month to remind folks to, not engage with them, but to find out where they're garaged and report those, and you can report them anonymously through the Lynn Police Department's tip line. So folks that feel they're afraid can do that anonymously and not have any issues. But if they, as it was said at the last meeting, if they can be identified where they're garaged, no more than one unregistered vehicle on a property would give them right to go on and deal with those properties. So, once again, thank you, Chief Reddy.
Councilor, if I could just go back to a previous issue you raised with regard to licenses. One of the other tools that we will be using is when we have an operator who's driving in a reckless or dangerous manner, we file a notice of immediate threat for license suspension with the Registry of Motor Vehicles and request that they take action on their license.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comment? We have a motion, seconded. Roll call?
Counsel Aronsug?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton? Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Staubed?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
I have one more communication from the mayor.
Okay.
From the mayor regarding the appointment of Senior Center Building Committee. Dear councilors, I would like to thank you for your ongoing leadership and collaboration throughout the process as the City of Lynn searched for proper space to host its senior center. Thanks to your vote on April 12, 2022, the city now has a place to serve an incredibly important population with a variety of needs that have only been exacerbated over the past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that this building is in the city's possession, our goal is to activate the space so that Lynn seniors population can congregate, socialize, and access services. In order to identify the best use of the space, the city will be working with an architect to design plans for necessary remodeling and renovations. I am assembling a senior center building committee to work with the architect to ensure that the building is designed in line with the needs of our seniors. I am appointing the following members to join me as part of the senior center building committee: Christopher Gomez Farewell, Director of Elder Services; Diana Chakutis, Ward 5 Counselor and Chair of the Council on Aging; Michael Donovan, the City of Lynn Inspectional Services Chief and Building Commissioner and Planning Director; Michael Bertino, the City of Lynn Chief Financial Officer; Barbara Mann, member of the Lynn Council on Aging and the Mass Senior Action Council North Shore Chapter. As preparations get underway, this Senior Center Committee will work diligently to keep the Lynn City Council updated on its progress and mission to providing the seniors of Lynn a safe, inviting, and accessible space to call their own. Sincerely, Jared C. Nicholson, Mayor.
Do we need a vote on that, or is that just, Attorney Lamont, just to accept it?
Motion to
Make a
accept.
motion to accept. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, carries.
Okay.
Public hearings to be set down.
We have the set down a public hearing for June 14th, 2022 on the city's annual action plan, including the use of the Department of Housing and Urban Development appropriations for the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership Grant, and the Emergency Solutions Grant.
Wish of the council?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Set down. Committees. You don't have anything else, do you? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Me.
Committees. Public Property, Councilor Staubed.
Thank you, Mr. President. We allowed the Four Winds to maintain their easement that was issued back in 2008 with a fee of $3,000. That was a 4-to-1 vote. Motion to approve.
Motion seconded.
Mr. President,
Councilor Lozey.
question of the committee. There was an important stipulation that they were to submit regarding conditions. Did they complete that?
Was that the noise?
Yes.
Yes.
Closing of windows.
Yes, at 10 p.m. on weekdays,
So-
midnight on Friday, Saturday nights.
So could we make that, include that into the approval?
ZBA stipulation.
Sure, that was a zoning board stipulation as well, was for Four Winds for noise mitigation, to keep all windows closed in their new addition
It
from,
was not the board, the zoning couldn't do that or didn't do it. So it had to be under our,
So you're asking that for a friendly amendment, Councilor Lozey?
could we make that as a friendly amendment?
and that was what
Include
was
that
approved.
language
But the stipulation
firmly.
was that they keep their windows closed after 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Sunday through Thursday, and after midnight on Friday and Saturday nights.
So that was with the Public Properties Committee?
Yes.
Okay, so that's already part of what we're going to
Yep,
approve.
that was part of the approval.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, comments? Councilor
I
Field?
think Attorney Lamanna, if you can just clarify that, because there was, I think, zoning improved that too, or no?
That was added as a condition, to Council Lozey's point, whether that was an appropriate condition. I would recommend to have this officially in the easement document. It'll be filed at the Registry of Deeds. Belts and suspenders. So I think it's appropriate here as well.
Anyone else? Questions?
Next was,
We got to vote on it, right? All Should we vote on that separately, Jim?
No.
No, okay, all right.
Take a vote.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Use of parking lot at 2 State Street for filming on May 13th from 6 PM to 6 AM. Unanimous vote of the committee. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And finally, unanimous vote to allow Lynn Community Connections to use the foyer of City Hall on June 10th from 9 AM to 12 PM. Unanimous vote of the committee. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
That was all, Mr. President.
That's it. All right, thank you. Licensing, Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a unanimous vote by our committee. I make a motion to approve.
Motion, seconded, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Utilities, Councilor Arling Sue.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one public hearing, and this one is from the Methuen Construction, which is a petition as part of the Phase 3 Westland Sewer Separation Project on Commercial and Bennett Street. We have a unanimous vote by the committee. Motion to approve.
Motion, seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Thank you. Ways and Means, Councilor Net.
Thank you, Mr. President. All financial transfer was unanimously approved by the committee, and I would like to ask the clerk to read the transfers before I make
Second.
a motion to approve.
Read the transfers into the record, please.
We have the following transfers: $521,000 from the ISD school payroll to the ISD school expense to fund projects with excess payroll due to retirements. $153,000 from ISD payroll to ISD expense and streetlight expense to fund additional projects needed. $45,000 from the Council on Aging expense to the Council on Aging payroll to fund additional staff hired. $4,362 from the reserve to the council expense to fund shortfalls and expense line items for FY22. $1,517,290 to the City of Lynn by the Transportation Bond Bill, Chapter 90 for FY23. $300,000 to the City of Lynn Community Development by the DCR for climate resiliency initiatives in the City of Lynn. This is an FY22 ARPA earmark from delegation. $3,953,728 to the School Department for the FY22 pandemic-related disruptions and enrollment grant. $50,000 to the School Department for the FY22 CPPI planning grant. Pursuant to the votes of the Lynn City Council dated July 13, 2021, and September 28, 2021, regarding the American Recovery Plan Act, the City Council hereby authorizes the city to make the allocation of $50,000 for the American Rescue Plan for consulting and outreach services for capital strategic solutions. Order that the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, establishing the portion of the lease payments for the operation of the Gannon Municipal Golf Course concession proceeds as an enterprise fund, effective immediately. All monies presently existing in the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Special Revenue Fund shall be transferred into the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Enterprise Fund. 65% of the revenues from the golf course concessions shall be deposited into the Gannon Municipal Golf Course Enterprise Fund on an annual basis. Ordered that the City Council assembled and by the authority of the same, the City of Lynn hereby accepts the provisions of Chapter 32B, Section 20 of the Mass General Laws as amended by the Chapter 218, Section 15 of the Acts of 2016, and establishes an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, and that in accordance with the Act, the city hereby designates the treasurer-collector of the city to serve as a custodian of the OPED fund, and that the treasurer-custodian be designated as a trustee of the fund, with all the powers and responsibilities identified under the Act and this vote, that the treasurer-custodian as trustee be authorized to employ investment consultant as well as outside custodial services, to hold monies in the fund and to pay for services from the fund, that the city hereby authorizes the investment of the fund under the prudent investor rule established under General Law, Chapter 203C. The city authorizes the treasurer custodian as a trustee to execute any and all documents necessary to utilize outside custodial services, and the investment consultants, including but not limited to trust agreements, participation agreements, investment agreements, and administrative services agreements. The city hereby designates the treasurer custodian as the plan administrator, as may be necessary to utilize outside custodial services, and authorizes the treasurer custodian acting as plan administrator to take any and all actions permitted or required by the law. The sum is expected to be appropriated in fiscal year 2022 and 2023 as the initial investment into the other post-employment benefits liability, OPED, trust fund, established in accordance with General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 20. This fund shall be effective immediately.
All right, so we have a motion to approve.
Yeah, make a motion to
We have a
approve.
second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counsel Alensog.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton. Yes, Counsel Chakutis. Yes, Counsel Calucci. Yes, Counsel Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Starbed.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh.
Yes. Councilor Net, was there any emergencies on that?
Yes, all were emergency voted by the committee. I make a motion to approve.
Approved. We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Alensog.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton. Yes, Counsel Chakutis. Yes, Counsel Calucci.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan.
Yes.
Counsel LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Starbed.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh.
Yes. Any old business?
We have no old business.
No old business. We have any new business?
We have a discussion with James Cowdell, the EDIC Director, regarding 23 Farris Street, Solion Tax Increment Financing Agreement.
Want to ask the mayor to come up to the podium and speak about this, please?
Thank you, Council President Walsh. Good evening, councilors. So in a moment, Executive Director of EDIC, Lynn Community will be presenting the tax increment financing agreement with a company called Solion, who I believe is here tonight as well. It's on an agreement that my administration supports. We certainly do not take any kind of incentive lightly, so I wanted to just explain to you from our perspective, from the administration's perspective, why we think this is an exciting opportunity. Solion, you'll hear more about them. They have technology that I think sounds promising, but more importantly, what the company proposes to do here really sits at the nexus of what I think we're hoping to develop between what exists in the innovation economy in Greater Boston, ideas that are coming out of the world-famous institutions that we have here, the technology that's at the cutting edge, and the nexus that we're hoping to create with that level of innovation and the manufacturing capabilities and potential that we have here in the city of Lynn, that we have such deep experience with, that we have such wonderful institutions with ourselves, with the Lynn Vocational Technical Institute. As you all know, we desperately need industrial growth, both to take pressure off residential taxpayers and to bring good-paying jobs to the city of Lynn. And Solion is proposing to invest millions of dollars into a property, bringing over 100 jobs that pay an average salary of $87,000 a year, and the incentive itself is at a very reasonable amount, about $100,000 over 5 years, and it's really setting Solion up to qualify for a larger state program. So I do believe that tax incentives should be subjected to a high level of scrutiny, and I think that the proposal here meets that high bar. Obviously, most important is that what is proposed is transparent, and that's obviously why we're here tonight. And I think Director of Assessing Chris Gaeta can talk more about exactly how this would work to deliver that level of transparency. Second is accountability. I think that's really important in thinking about offering any kind of tax incentives, and it is clear based on the way the agreement is written that if Solion doesn't perform, that we can end the incentive, and that the incentive itself is not transferable. Third, I think, and maybe most importantly, is that there's a clear community benefit that the city is receiving in exchange for this. And here that comes in the form of preference for the jobs for Lynn residents first, and then to graduates from Lynn Tech who no longer live in the city of Lynn. But that kind of partnership with Lynn Tech, I think, is a strong benefit. And speaking actually with the Solion representatives, LVTI and its machine shop, I think, is a great selling point for the city of Lynn, for companies like this who are concerned about their ability to find qualified employees that are in this space. It's something that the city of Lynn does distinctively that we're hopefully going to see more of as we see more companies looking to take what is exciting technology and actually make something of it closer to home to mitigate some of the supply chain risk. So I think this is a great opportunity to land an employer that is working at the cutting edge of technology that also provides good, accessible jobs for Lynn residents. And I am looking forward to hearing more from the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Cuddell from EDIC.
Mr. President, if you'd allow me, I would like to introduce a representative from Solian to inform the council really what they do and what they're all about. If I could ask.
Come on up.
Hi everyone, my name is Shayantini. Sorry, I'm very short. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Solian. Our CEO is on the way, just hit traffic because we're all in Boston. It's a technology out of UMass Amherst, but our founder is an MIT graduate, and then she started working on this innovation 15 years back. We have developed a proprietary process to develop a different type of coating on textiles that doesn't use any water. So it's a very sustainable process, and as we know, Massachusetts had been a textile hub for long, and then all the jobs got shipped out overseas. We are trying to bring back textile manufacturing in the United States, starting with Massachusetts, because there are a lot of resources here. And Lynn being one of the cities, gateway cities, it helps out a lot. It's close to Boston. Our current investor is a South Korean textile giant, and they looked at the facility already, they looked at the city, and they thought that this would be a great place to come in, because when they travel from South Korea, they can it's 30 minutes from Boston. We do need a manufacturing location, and this would be our headquarters. We want to use this building as a showcase, and we also want to do the R&D here. Most of our jobs would be technical roles, and that's why we are looking at the Lynn Technical College, because we can train at a young age and start developing those resources for future employability. And that's a huge pull for us, because we need prototypes that we make, and we work in the space of smart textiles primarily. So we develop a lot of technical textiles that are right now used in US military. They are the first customers for us, so we have a lot of good things going on, and we think we can bring that in Lynn and really develop with the community and help us grow here, and possibly look at other buildings when we are in the path of growth. The state of Massachusetts just gave us a grant for buying the capital equipment, which we have ordered. So really the next step is to find the right real estate and move in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, I do want to thank the mayor. You put in a lot of hard work in getting us to this point, as well as yourself and the ward councilor, Diana Jakutis and Chris Gator. As you just heard, the state gave a $1.5 million grant to this company in March. They believe in them. If the council votes for this tax incentive next month, the state will, it's on their agenda to also vote for state tax credits. So the state certainly believes in them. We believe in them. As far as a commercial TIF, I was thinking as I was coming up to this meeting, I've been the executive director of EDIC for 16 years. I've only presented two that I can remember. Market Basket, which was a $30 million investment, brought 400 jobs to the city of Lynn, was a home run. And Kettle Cuisine was the other one that brought they came from Chelsea. We offered a TIF. 9 other communities went after that company. They brought 100 jobs. Today they have over 500 jobs. So it is a tool that we use. We don't use it frequently, but it's very effective when we do use it. When you look at the current property, right, today, it's an empty building, there's no jobs, and it produces 0 in personal property taxes. The current value of the property is about $540,000. The current taxes that it produces is a little bit over $12,000 annually. With Solian investing $6 million into that property, the property value goes from $540,000 up to $1.8 million. The property taxes goes from $12,800 up to $43,000 annually. And as I said, there's currently 0 being produced in personal property. That will jump to about $50,000 per year. And also, the building permit itself will bring in about $60,000 that goes into the general account. The job creation that the mayor referenced, over 5 years, it will create 105 jobs with the average salary of $87,000. There'll be lab technicians, there'll be machinists, there'll be stitches. As I think the mayor had pointed out, that the TIF specifically references a partnership being created with Lynn Tech, and that's a great feeder program. The TIF is non-transferable. I know that that was something that the council president had mentioned to me. If the company is sold, the TIF is null and void, and preference, as the mayor said, on jobs goes to Lynn residents. It's a $6 million investment in an empty building that creates over 100 high-paying jobs. I strongly support it. I hope the council does. Chris Gator is here, Mr. President, with any questions specifically to the schedule. It's a short TIF. It's the shortest TIF that the city has ever voted on. It's only 5 years. With that, I'm here to answer any questions that the council may have. Chris is here as well.
Okay, any questions from the councilors? Council Stabbit?
Thank you. And thank you, Jim. What is the percentage?
Chris, you want to talk about percentages? We'll get right into it.
Good evening, Christopher Gator, Director of Assessing. Here to answer any questions you have. Specific to the real estate, we have it set up at 20%, 40, 60, 80, then 100. So that's over 5 years. Same schedule, but pushed back 1 year on the personal property because that won't actually come in to be taxable until year 2, just the way the general laws is set up. So it's a straight 20, 40, 60, 80. The 5th year of it is 100%. So really 4 years in that active period.
Okay. So in the first year, they would pay 20% of the annual property taxes?
Yeah, so how the agreements is set up, you take, the base value, like Jim said, was $540. Whatever they invest in, that's what the increment is reduced by. So for instance, $540,000, fair cash value is 1.5. That would bring the net improvement to 960. So from that 960, you take 20%. So it's not the full value, but that increment of the improvement made is what the tax incentive is on.
Okay, so
Does that make sense to you?
The base value is still taxed at its present rate?
Yes, yes. So the break just comes in on that increment from the improvements less the base value. And that base value stays the same, but based on, the commercial, industrial, the overall increase, that can fluctuate, 2, 3, 4% a year. So it's hard to estimate 5 years down.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Council Lapierre?
Thank you, Mr. President. More directed, I want to thank the mayor and, of course, Mr. Cowdell for presentation, and I like everything that's being said about this project, from its investment and the partnership, perhaps with tech, and the high salaries and so forth. And I guess the only thing I'm trying to get around is how did we engage labor discussions? Was there any discussion with our organized labor community around the $6 million investment and what that might look like? I don't want to lose sight that Lynn's a labor city, and I don't know if we're prepared to vote for this tonight. It says discussion, but I'm certainly not prepared to vote for it tonight, hearing about it for the first time, other than being on the agenda. But will there be some engagement with some stakeholders in our labor community to properly invest in this building and build it properly and safely? If the build-out is going to require such an extensive amount of money, I would like to see a project labor agreement attached to this in exchange for the incentive, beyond the community benefits that have already been previously mentioned. So it's something just to keep in mind, either from the mayor's office or your office, Mr. Cowdell, about first seeing what labor thinks about the project and then trying to engage in labor work and making sure that we be a good neighbor to labor on this big $6 million investment to our city. Thank you.
So $3 million, roughly, ballpark, $3 million would go towards machinery. And so $3 million, you can correct me if I'm wrong, $3 million would go towards the build, actual hardware. And then the other $3 million would go towards the build-out And as far as, not committing to hire, but certainly committing to meet with labor unions, I believe that that would happen, yes. And so that would be part of the process.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Arlingsu.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Caldwell. If I could invite our CEO guest to answer some of the questions. You mentioned about, thank you. I personally feel this is exciting for the city, coming an international company coming to the city. But Mr. Cowdell mentioned about 105 employees in the next 5 years. And also you mentioned you'll be opening different sites. Is that the cap number?
No,
Is
that's
there a
just a
possibility
projection.
increasing that number?
Yeah, that's just a projection for us because, we are still trying to estimate. So it's very hard to give an accurate number, but that's a minimum. Our goal is to grow faster. It's essentially the kind of work we do, the more people we hire, we are able to produce more products. So it's a ballpark number which we know that we need as a minimum. And the goal is, and we have started talking to other people in Lynn, is how we can acquire probably potentially more properties beyond for our street, because our plan is pretty aggressive.
Thank you. I like the word aggressive because the city is growing. There's more people coming in, and the projection is high. So thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Councilor Hogan.
Now, would you be willing to meet with the labor unions?
Absolutely. We have started looking out overall, but honestly, that was our first goal. I reached out to Attorney Dan Cahill. He's representing us in the sale. And I asked him, do you have any connection to the local labor force? Because it makes more sense for a local developer to take on the project. They know the landscape. They understand everything. It's just easier. And again,
Well,
it's a competitive bid.
I take your word very good on this then.
Yes. Again, it's a competitive bid, but I think Lynn being Lynn, they'll probably be super competitive compared to Boston for sure.
All right, thank you.
All right, any questions or comments? It's the wish of the council.
Would you approve?
Councilor Jacutis.
Motion to approve for the mayor to sign the increment financial agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Alanson?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Calucci?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre?
No.
Counsel Lozey?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Starbin?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
Yes. All right. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody that was here. I think this is a big move for us to try to get some jobs into the city. I think these are the type of manufacturing jobs that we're going to be looking at going into the future. I'm happy to say that, Lynn Tech has obviously been a big feeder for a lot of years for people for these different jobs, and we're starting to bring that back. There was like a $2 million investment in the machining program, and I just want to say that we appreciate that you're coming here to Lynn. We're excited about it, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have any other new business?
We have a presentation by Robert Dolan, the Vice President of Mass Development, regarding the PACE program.
You want to come on up to the podium or the table here? You can walk us through the slides.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Dolan. I'm from Mass Development, and thanks for helping me with the slides. I guess I'll just say next slide, please, and we'll move on from there. Next slide, please. Yep, so I am from Mass Development. Hopefully you folks are familiar with Mass Development. We work on a broad range of issues with communities and cities, from site remediation to community grants, helping nonprofits access the capital markets. The program I'm speaking to you about today is the PACE program. Next slide, please. And it is Property Assessed Clean Energy. It allows commercial property owners to finance energy improvements, either renewable energy or energy efficiency improvements. Think solar panels, HVAC systems, via special betterment assessment on the property tax bill. So, this is just an additional tool in the toolbox of commercial property owners in your community to finance energy improvements. they usually go and get a conventional loan through their existing banking relationship, but this is just another option for them. The main nuance here, and the reason we're speaking to you folks today, is that the way that it's repaid, the debt is repaid is through an assessment on that property owner's property tax bill. So it does require a municipal opt-in. So the typical questions we get are, why would property owners do that? There's a myriad of different reasons, differs by each property owner. There's some components under the PACE program that lend itself to property owners, such as they can get up to 20-year financing over 20 years, which is a longer term than they may typically get with a conventional loan. There's also no new debt on the balance sheet because it comes across on the balance sheet as a property tax rather than actual debt. And so, you may have property owners in your community that maybe have tight loan-to-value ratios, or maybe not the debt profile where they can access a conventional loan. So this is just an additional option for them to actually finance those energy improvements. And also, one nuance to the property assessed clean energy program is what we say: it runs with the land. And so, in essence, the assessment, if he or she sells their property, the assessment stays with the land to the new owner. And the principle behind that is that commercial property owners are investing in energy efficiency improvements that will pay over a number of years in the future, and the new property owner will reap the benefits of that. And so, you may have some property owners that need significant new energy improvements to their facilities, like a new roof, solar panels, and they don't know how long they're going to be at the property. And so this is an interesting program in case they want to invest and do those improvements, and ultimately they can pass that assessment on to the new owner. For the municipalities, why would the municipalities want to do it? It's really supporting property owners in your community and improving their capital asset and doing energy improvements to their facility. Obviously, there's a green component to this, and in essence, you're helping property owners make their buildings more sustainable and energy efficient, and hopefully those lower costs will help them reinvest into jobs or just help their bottom line by lowering expenses. Next slide, please. So it's relatively new to Massachusetts. 2020 was when it was kind of started, but there's a huge national commercial PACE market. It kind of just shows you the different states and also the different type of properties that are eligible, which I'll get to in a slide or two. Next slide, please. And, Connecticut has a PACE program, Rhode Island has a PACE program. The circle on the right kind of shows you, it's hard to tell from this far out, but it kind of shows you the typical amount of a PACE deal. There's no minimum and there's no maximum, but we typically see PACE financings between $500,000 and $5 million. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, we started it in 2020. Mass Development is the lead program administrator, so we do what we're doing right now. We're speaking with city councils or select board folks, staff, and also working with property owners and developers and working on the program. We also work closely with the Department of Energy Resources. They actually really kind of figure out the savings that the property owner is trying to do with their energy improvements. We have a host of information online for PACE. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to pause on this briefly because it really, I think, is one of the slides that municipalities are most focused on. It shows kind of the flow of funds. And so in essence, you have a capital provider, is what we call lenders in the program. But you have a lender that's providing a property owner with funds to do energy improvements. And then the capital provider is repaid via an assessment on that property tax bill. And so the municipality bills the property owner via their property tax bill. There's an additional line item on it for that assessment, for that repayment. That funds are then remitted to Mass Development, and we pay the capital provider. And so this does require a municipal opt-in. The two main questions we get from cities and towns are, what does this look like for the bandwidth of my staff, the tax collector of the town, and also what is our exposure in case there is a default, which I'll get to the latter one in a slide or two. But I would say for the bandwidth of the city or town, Mass Development's aware that different cities or towns have different levels of familiarity with betterment assessments. Some city or towns do multiple betterment assessments for wastewater treatment. Some cities or towns don't do any assessments. And so, their tax software necessarily can't accommodate that. So we've hired a consultant, an outside consultant, MuniCap, that we're paying Mass Development to work with the city or town staff on updating a property tax, or their tax software. So if a property owner ultimately does want to pursue PACE and the municipal city or town opts in, we will help them update their tax software so that they can reflect the new amount on that property tax bill. I would also say we've had 2 of these done so far, one in Greenfield and one in Boston. So, we have 4 or 5 more in the pipeline, but for kind of the pipeline of projects that, a city or town's looking at, it could be very different. Boston may have, they've already had another one in the pipeline, but, you may see 1 or 2 of these come through or not at all. The reason we usually are talking to city or towns is because there's a property owner who's looking into PACE, and they want us to brief the city or town stakeholders so they're familiar with the PACE program, so that when they come talk to the city or town about potentially pursuing PACE, the city or town's kind of familiar with it. Next slide, please. So these are eligible properties. It's existing commercial buildings, not for profits. Obviously, not profits are a little bit more nuanced since they don't receive a tax bill. That said, we've had talked to nonprofits that are interested in doing PACE. And multifamily housing with 5 units or more. That's also very nuanced because obviously having multiple parties kind of opt into something like that is a challenge. Whereas if you have one commercial property owner engaging it, it's a little bit more efficient. But typically we see office buildings, malls, hotels, restaurants. People are retrofitting mills, are looking for new roofs and solar panels. We see laboratories, high energy use laboratories are looking into this. So we kind of run the gamut of commercial buildings. Next slide, please. And so eligible measures, energy efficiency. We see a lot of HVAC systems, or we see a lot of folks looking at putting solar panels on their facility. And the good thing about this program is if there's something tied to that energy improvement, like a new roof, you can finance it under this program as well. So we see a lot of that. Next slide, please. So these next 2 slides are going to be the projects that we've done so far. I think the good thing about this slide is that it shows you that the commercial property owner doesn't have to have a huge facility for this to work. This is a 12,000 square foot building in Western Mass. They did a host of different upgrades. The reason they did PACE was they were interested in doing that 20-year term. They couldn't get a 20-year term like that through a conventional loan. The amount of financing was $450,000. Next slide, please. This is obviously a more significant, larger project, 121 square feet mixed-use warehouse building with 13 commercial tenants. They also did a host of different energy improvements. So when we talk to property owners, we just tell them, if you're going to do a financing, you might as well do some kind of energy audit to figure out what exactly you need and try to do it within one financing it to make more cost effective. The one thing I would mention about these 2 slides is that the PACE program does require mortgage holder consent, and so if you have a loan, a private mortgage on the facility, the bank does have to provide consent. And the reason for that is kind of the hierarchy of funds are the waterfall is property taxes always come first; they have to be paid first. Then the PACE loan is subordinated to property taxes, and then any private lien after that is subordinated to PACE. So the typical question we get is, why would a bank ever want to subordinate their loan, their private mortgage, private loan? For these 2 facilities, the banks told us that, they had an existing relationship with the client. They realized it was good for their client's bottom line to lower the energy costs on their facility, and also that they understood that, these improvements to that capital asset actually helps the asset that they have their private loan on. Next slide, please. So key elements: municipal opt-in, one time required. It requires either a city council vote or a select board vote. Maximum financing is up to 20 years, depending on the useful life of the measure. So, solar panel, new roof, that's up to 20 years. Light bulbs are lower than that. But if you do one financing and you're doing light bulbs, but you're also doing a solar panels, that can all be amortized over 20 years. The energy cost savings must exceed cost improvements. So, the bottom line for this is that, the undertaking is to save the property owner's money. And so if we find that, they're trying to do energy improvements that aren't going to actually yield the savings of the actual cost of the expenses, then, we talk to them and kind of discuss different options. Like I mentioned, it travels with the land. If the property is sold, the assessment moves with the land. And you can do retroactive financing for retroactive improvements. And then the third party, it's, the way to view this is that the capital providers are trying to provide funding to property owners in your community, and the way you folks are involved are the mechanism of repayment. But it's outside capital coming in. It's not new capital from the state or the city or town. Next slide, please. And so, we get the application, and then we notify the city or town that we have an application. This is an important slide for the default discussion I mentioned with you folks. We get a question about what happens if there's a default. Under the PACE program, it's non-accelerating debt, which in essence means that the only thing that's outstanding or unpaid is the billed amount and uncollected amount. So if you have a $4 million loan and you miss one payment, the banks are not allowed to call in the full balance of the loan or foreclose. They can only, the only amount that's been billed and uncollected is in default. And so as part of the closing process, the lien is actually transferred to the capital provider at closing, and they are required for any kind of enforcement of a default. The city and town has no responsibility for any default proceedings or trying to go after a property owner that's in default. So that's very clear in the PACE assessment, the PACE statute, and also in the municipal opt-in vote, it states that as well. So you can see kind of what happens with how it's the lien's assigned to the city, but then assigned to mass development, and then we assign the lien to the capital provider. Next slide, please. So these are the 54 cities or towns that have opted into PACE. So, we have 54 cities and towns, but only 2 projects so far. It's because, sometimes property owners are looking into PACE, and they're looking at the balance of like what they really want to do and what kind of financing that they want to get. And, we make sure that, property owners know and cities and towns know that we're agnostic as to like what kind of financing or how they get their financing. We want property owners to get the best bang for their buck for these energy improvements. If it's PACE, great. If it's a conventional loan, great. Whatever works for them. And so we do have 4 or 5 more, like I mentioned, PACE projects in the pipeline. And you can see the cities or towns that are, throughout the map in Massachusetts. Our last 3 that opted in were Dudley, Hudson, and Peabody. So you can see there's kind of a great, it's across the board. Next slide, please. So this is a busy slide, but this is kind of, what mass development does and how we intersect with everybody. We're kind of just trying to help out everyone in bringing these deals to fruition. And next slide, please. And that is it. That's my contact information. I'm always happy to answer any questions via email or give me a call. And I'm happy to answer any questions now as well.
Any questions from the council? Council Lozey?
So, are you looking for a vote from the council?
We did circulate municipal opt-in language to your staff in advance of this meeting. Whether you folks, I don't know if it's on the agenda for a vote or not, whether you vote tonight or at a later date. I'm not really sure of what.
I would say, council, we would bring this up at a later date if it's something that the council would like to do.
Okay, I'm very skeptical about the betterment charges for folks that are being, on one hand, encouraged to implement and put up solar panels or any type of coverage, renewable coverage, and just then whacking them with a betterment charge. I just don't see the logic in doing that.
Yeah, so it's, in essence, I view it as, it's not necessarily like we're levying a betterment assessment because they put up energy improvements. It's, in essence, they borrowed money from someone, and so now they have to pay them back. And whether they do it, through a conventional loan, they would do it, over 5, 10, 15 years, and they would do it directly with the bank to repay that loan. Here, they're...
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so, because you confuse me when you say you pay, if any individual here, any councilor chose to put up solar panels on their home, and they got private financing, what would it have to do with PACE?
So it's a great question. So it's only for commercial property owners, but say you're a commercial property owner, right, and you went to a bank and you wanted to get financing for energy improvements, and, you know, potentially they looked at your balance sheet and said, yeah, we can't really offer you financing, or they gave you rates that were just not even attractive.
So, but that's what I'm asking. So it doesn't apply to all systems that would be constructed, or would it? I mean, what if somebody had a business with a good credit? Let's say Counselor
Yep.
Starbird.
Yep.
His auto business, he was going to put up solar panels. So, and he has great credit, we'll say.
Yep.
And I know
So he has great credit.
And so if he was granted a low 4%.
Yep.
And he's going to purchase these panels for $50,000.
Yep.
So is he going to get whacked with a betterment charge?
No. That's so he's going to go and he's going to get that capital through that regular kind of loan process. This program is really for people who have done that due diligence and they couldn't get terms that they really liked, and so that they can access, they can go through PACE if they want to.
Only those who go through PACE would then be given a betterment charge on that.
And they're going into it with eyes wide open saying, you know, they talk to that PACE capital provider, and the PACE capital provider can be like, we'll give you 20-year financing for like a 5.5% rate. This is what it's going to look like on an annual basis, so they know it's going to go on their property tax bill. And that's the other thing I forgot to mention is that under PACE, the way it's collected, it has to line up with your tax cycle. So we're not asked, the PACE program makes it clear that whatever the frequency of the repayment is has to align with your existing tax cycle. So if you folks bill, quarterly, semi-annually, that's how the repayment has to happen.
All right, any other questions by the council? Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate you having you do this for us, and we'll look at it and take a position or see if we'll bring it up at one of the other council meetings.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Any other new business?
We have a resolution supporting canceling student loan debt.
Council Lapierre.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to read this non-binding resolution on behalf of the council. It's supporting the cancellation of student loan debt, as Madam Clerk just said. Whereas canceling student loan debt and eliminating debt in higher education represents an enormous economic opportunity for the city of Lynn to create better jobs, increase spending in our local community, support individuals in moving upward in social mobility, and provide a deeply needed stimulus during this pandemic. Whereas Black, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, and other communities of color, economically disadvantaged residents, older people, and young adults experience the impacts of student debt and debt generally most acutely. Whereas abolishing of student debt also represents an incredible moral opportunity for the city of Lynn to support residents, addressing some racial and gender wage gaps, providing better overall health outcomes to the general population, since debt is associated with negative mental and physical health outcomes like stress, depression, general health, obesity, and mortality. Whereas canceling student debt is a policy that is strongly supported across all political parties and across the country, but especially here in the city of Lynn, and now President Joe Biden and the Democrats committed to some form of student debt cancellation during this past 2020 election. Whereas student debt cancellation is only one step toward relief and a better higher education system, and examples from overseas and locally show the need for elimination of full student loan debt and investment in pathways toward college for all and other programs to support higher education as a public good. Whereas elimination of debt as higher education and pathways to education as a public good represent substantial opportunities for the city of Lynn to create jobs, reform higher education during an integral time, increase economic and public health security, expand prosperity for local residents, and save the city and residents money. Now, therefore, be resolved by the City Council of the City of Lynn, call for the federal government to commit to canceling all student debt. The Lynn City Council requests that the federal government enact a plan to cancel student debt and begin the transition to education as a public good. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Council Starbird?
Shocking. Mr. President, I came across a meme today just by chance. And it says, just to be clear, there is no plan to eliminate student debt. There is a plan to transfer that debt to those that don't owe it. Now, those aren't my words, but I couldn't have said it any better myself. Mr. President, adults borrow money for a myriad of reasons. To purchase a home, when they do, in an area they can afford. To purchase cars, a vehicle that they can afford. For those going into trades, for tools and equipment. And when they make those decisions, they do so when they get on the Snap-on truck and look at a new tool that just came out. Is this going to help me enhance my earning ability? For those that borrow money to go into business, a construction company, pickup trucks, not buying Lamborghinis, but buying pickup trucks that can hold as equipment, tow a trailer with a bobcat, a backhoe, spend money on an oil truck. And then there are those that sign contracts to borrow money to go to college when they don't have the money to pay it themselves. Again, there are choices out there for college that are very affordable. Some of myself, I put both my kids through college. One in private school at over 50 grand a year. One in a public college at 20 grand a year. 40% of what a private school goes for. And that was living there. So college is extremely affordable for those who truly are concerned about the education. You can go to North Shore and get a 2-year degree, transfer that to a state school, and it's extremely affordable. But to pick out one group, and this language itself says cancel all debt. Let the city council call out our federal government to cancel all student debt. There can't be anything more financially irresponsible than that. Never mind the fact that you were singling out one group of adults who signed a contract to borrow money for one specific goal. Not to pay off the Snap-on truck, not to pay off Ford Motor Credit because somebody bought some F-250s to conduct business, not to pay off mortgages because somebody bought a house that they really can't afford. Is that going to be next? Mr. President, adults borrow money for many different things. I think it's grossly unfair to pick and choose whose loans we're going to forgive and how we're going to support that. And for those reasons, I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Counselor Lozey?
Although I have 3 adult children that would benefit from this resolution or this action if it were to pass through the federal government, it doesn't address those who have faithfully paid their loans, nor will it address future college students that would ultimately incur debt from going to college. We already have programs like the Pell Grants, Mass Scholarship Program, and numerous other scholarship programs. This resolution would encourage, as Councilor Starbird pointed out, enormous deficit spending. Even if it wasn't all debt, even if you just took $10,000, you'd be talking about $1 trillion that we're asking the federal government to print money to pay for. I'm sorry, I don't agree with Senator Warren when she gave the example of Elon Musk not paying taxes. The guy's paying a record amount of taxes. And the answer is not just taxing millionaires, billionaires to pay for this. The money is not there. There's enough taxes. I personally paid what I think is too much, almost $18,000 to the federal government this year. And I just can't support something like this. I consider it irresponsible and a giveaway that it sounds nice, and it would be nice if we could do that and help people. That's what we're elected to do, to help people. But really, going negative and creating more inflation and people on fixed incomes, that's deducting from them. And I can't, again, as Councilor Starbird said, these are adult people, and my 3 adult children have debt, college debt, and it would be nice to have it forgiven, but I'm proud of them. that they're working and they're paying their loans off faithfully. So I'm sorry I can't support this resolution.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? Counselor Hogan?
With Council LaPierre, I support this 100%. I live in a Ward 6 area. I grew up in a family of 8 kids. Sorry, we didn't have the opportunity to all go to college and afford it. And we had to, I've got some of my brothers still paying off loans, and they're over 50 years old. So it's just crazy what's going on in this world right now. If we can help people, especially in my area, I'm 100% behind this, and I'll be voting yes tonight.
Thank you, Counsel. Any other questions, comments? So it was a form of a motion. Counselor LaPierre?
It's in the form of a resolution to pass, yes, before this body.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Counselor Arlingsu?
I don't owe any money. I didn't go to school here. My husband and I, we have no kids. I could easily vote no. But I've seen a lot of my friends, family members, who are still paying and still like struggling so hard. I could not move on, and that's why I'm voting yes. And I just want this for the record that I am voting yes because of their struggles.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments, questions? Roll call.
Counsel Alanson?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci? Yes. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Lozey? No. No. Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Starbid?
No.
No. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Any other new business?
Mr. President.
No other new business. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Counselor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to give a quick report before we conclude for the evening about our Keep Lynn Clean Saturdays neighborhood cleanups.
Sure.
We've had a great success. So just on behalf of Councilor Chakutis and myself, the co-chairs of the Litter Committee, I want to first acknowledge my colleagues on the council. Almost everybody's participated. So far, we're about halfway through our spring schedule. I want to thank the mayor's office, certainly Lisa Nerrick, the associate commissioner from the DPW, and the hundreds of volunteers that have already participated in these Keep Lynn Clean Saturdays. We are making a difference at neighborhood areas throughout the entire city, and we will continue to do so every Saturday through the month of May and June. This upcoming Saturday will be at one of our targeted areas of the Lynn Commons. That will be from 9 to 11. There's still time to participate if anyone has time. It's been well received by the community, so I just want to acknowledge everybody that has participated and welcome anyone else that would like to.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else for new business? I just got one more thing. I just want to say Jeffrey's here in the crowd with us. We haven't had Jeffrey for a while. Should welcome him back. All right? All right. Great. Thank you, Jeffrey. Any other motion to adjourn? We have a second. All in favor?
They've been having training?
So for the social justice standards
Yes, yeah,
particularly?
because it's on the report card. It's been, and have we had it on there since